capital flow designed with simplified procedures and customized services. Today our training session is on one of our main services, company registrations in capital flow. It helps you to understand types of company registrations and benefits. Our excellent services will help you start and grow your business. Since capital flow is the leader of business incorporation services in India, we involve in registering a wide range of business entities. Company registrations. We take great pride to register your company. As you all know, have many types of company registrations. 1. Proprietorship company registration. 2. Partnership company registration. 3. One-person company registration. 4. Limited liability company registration. 5. Private limited company registration. 6. Public limited company registration. 7. Indian subsidiary company registration. Special entities. 1. NI company registration. 2. Producer company registration. 3. Section 8 company registration. Name availability check. In company registrations, first step is selecting a suitable name for your company. Name choosing. Choosing the right name and registering the best is always important. Run name approval from Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Do the first step in securing your dream name for the business. 20 days validity is available after taking the run name approval. Naming your business. The first asset of your business. Here Republic can help you to name your business. Proprietorship company registration. True ownership lives within you or begins with you. What is sole proprietorship registration? A sole proprietorship is a form of business run and managed by a single individual. Such businesses have the least compliance requirement and don't require any registration. However, experts recommend obtaining the registration for availing several benefits under MSME schemes, etc. Sole proprietorships are one of the most common forms of businesses in India, and the registration is easy and cost-effective as well. Further, the person managing the proprietorship firm retains the full authority and responsibility related to the business. Who should opt for sole proprietorship registration? Any individual willing to commence a business with low capital or investment should choose this kind of business form. Let's discuss in details on what entities should opt for sole proprietorship registration. Small businesses. The sole proprietorship business is preferable for small businesses such as retail, wholesale, etc. Such businesses have simple business nature, nominal or the least financial risk, no requirement of enormous debts, and have small product market. Businesses with low investment. The business with a little or minimal capital requirements or almost risk levels can run as sole proprietorship. Now, the proprietorship business needs to register itself under tax laws such as GST registration if it falls under a certain category. What are the advantages of sole proprietorship registration? If you're running your firm as a sole proprietorship, then you have the advantage of not investing your capitals in business registration, since there is no compulsion or formal registration process for such firms. Therefore, the cost of setting up such a business is low as compared to other companies or one-person company. Furthermore, there are several other advantages of sole proprietorship which one can't avail with any other form of business. They are as follows. Flexible decision-making. In a sole proprietorship business, the owner has full control over the business, hence, making and taking decisions are entirely on his/her part. There's no interference of anybody else. As a result, The process of decision-making becomes quick and efficient. Further, the decision is taken within less time frame. Complete control over finance. Finance plays quite a critical role in every kind of business. Therefore, decision-making regarding finance and implanting it becomes simple. In turn, this helps the owner to grab various opportunities. The person managing the business has the sole and complete control over the finance. Documents required for sole proprietorship registration. Address proof. Utility bill must be less than 2 months old. Individual PAN. Add a copy. Proprietorship name. Address proof of premises. Rental agreement certification. NOC, if the premises is not owned by the customer. List of sales, services to be carried out. Cancelled check. 1 photograph of individual. Phone number, email lid of proprietor. Partnership company registration. Don't give up, be remarkable by reaching us. What is partnership firm registration? For a while, let's skip partnership firm registration and firstly understand what partnership firm is. Partnership firm is a kind of business structure which is pretty simple to form and can be started with a minimum of 2 people. If we talk about the compliances pertaining to the partnership firm, they are quite less as compared to other corporate entities. In a partnership firm, 2 or more people come together to work for their mutual benefits. These people are known as partners. Benefits of partnership firm registration in India. There are several reasons why partnership firm registration could be beneficial for you. They are as described below. Minimum 2 persons. To form a partnership firm, a minimum of 2 persons are required. However, it completely depends on the applicant how many partners he or she is willing to work with. One can increase the number of partners, but 2 persons are sufficient to start a partnership firm in India. Shared responsibilities and duties. Every partner in the firm has certain specified duties. The duties and responsibilities of the partners are shared. Easy formation. Because of less documentation and minimum legal formalities, registration of partnership firm as well as its formation is pretty easy. No annual returns. Unlike other business entities such as private limited, public limited, and one company limited companies where you have to file annual returns, in contrast, partnership firms don't need to file annual returns. Less compliances and regulations. When compared to companies and LLP, the compliances and regulations in the case of a partnership firm are considerably lesser. Better management. It is easier to manage the operations of partnership firms as all the partners take interest in everyday business affairs because of profit, control, and ownership. Documents required for registration of partnership firm. So if you have decided to start your partnership firm and wish to obtain partnership firm registration, then keep the following documents ready. Form 1. Application for registration under Partnership Act. Original copy of partnership agreement/deed signed by all partner and duly stamped. Affidavit declaring intention to become a partner. Rent agreement of property as may be applicable. Documents of firm such as PAN card and address proof of the firm. Documents of partners such as the PAN of the partners and address proof such as driving license, voter ID card, etc. One-person company registration. One idea, one person, one goal. Section 262 of the Companies Act, 2013 defines OPC as the company which has only one person as a member. Therefore, OPC registration in India can be defined as a permit given to an individual for running a company single-handedly. Besides, OPC registration is a modern approach to sole proprietorship business in India. An OPC allows sole entrepreneurs to start a business under private limited structure without requiring any co-founder on board. Therefore, an OPC needs to comply with all the provisions as applicable to private companies. Furthermore, it provides the owner with full authority over the company. Additionally, it's a separate legal entity from its sole owner and limits the liability or duties of the owner to contribute to the company. However, there are some limitations as well. OPCs can't raise an equity funding or offer the employee stock option in the initial stage of the business. Moreover, if any time in the business, the OPC hits an average 3-year turnover of up to or more than Rs. 2 crores or paid up capital of Rs. 50 lakhs or more, then it will have to convert into a private limited company or public limited company within the 6 months. Last but not least, every company registered as OPC needs to add one-person company at the end of the company's name. Benefits of one-person company in India. Undoubtedly, a company registered as an OPC has to offer several advantages. It lets the owner of the company to take complete control over the business and run it accordingly. Apart from this, an OPC is a separate legal entity, has limited liability, etc. Let's dig into more detail. Limited liability. You never know when the unfortunate event will occur. Therefore, it's imperative to secure personal assets before anything actually happens. If you are registered as an OPC, then any loss incurred in the company may not affect your personal assets anyhow. Further, you won't need to deal with any loss. However, it's completely opposite in the case of a sole proprietorship firm. No minimum capital requirement. For OPC registration, there is no minimum capital requirement. However, the paid-up capital of an OPC shall not surpass Rs. 50 lakhs at any point of the business, or it will have to convert into private limited company. Continuous existence. Even if the director of the company falls ill or dies, the company's process will not be affected since the nominee director will take hold of the business and continue it. Less compliance. As compared to other company registrations, be it a private limited company or public limited companies, the compliances of an OPC are generally lesser. Besides, minimum paperwork is required. No legal disputes. Since, in an OPC, there's only one member and one director, therefore, the chance of any legal disputes doesn't arise. Further, there aren't any ego clashes between directors, which usually happens in other forms of business with more than one director. Greater credibility. When compared to a sole proprietorship firm, OPCs have greater credibility. The reason for the same is that OPCs have to get their books audited annually, due to which things are more organized. Hence, in turn, this increases the credibility of the company. Easy to form and run. Registering an OPC is quite an easy process, and with Svarata advisors, it becomes even easier. We will get your OPC registered within the least possible time. What are the minimum requirements for registering an OPC in India? For obtaining one-person company registration in India, you need to fulfill the minimum requirements as follows. There should be only one director. One nominee is mandatory. A total of one member. There should be only one shareholder. What are the eligibility criteria for one-person company registration? Only those are eligible to apply for an OPC registration in India who satisfies the following conditions. The applicant should be a citizen of India. The sole members of the OPC must appoint a nominee. The member must be an Indian resident who has stayed in the country for at least 132 days in the preceding year. The paid-up capital of the company must not exceed Rs. 50 lakhs and the turnover should not exceed Rs. 2 crores. Documents required for one-person company registration. Before you proceed to OPC registration, it's quite essential to keep the following documents prepared. Documents required from the director: scanned copy of PAN, copy of passport, voter ID, etc. Latest telephone bill/bank statement, etc. Passport size photograph, etc. For the registered office: copy of rent agreement to be notarized. NOC obtained from owner of property where applicable. Copy of property deed/copy of sale deed, if owned property. Others if required. Limited liability partnership company registration. We give wings to your business, you decide where to fly. What is limited liability partnership? The Limited Liability Partnership, LLP, is an upgraded version of the General Partnership. The LLPs are governed by the Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. The LLP Act 2008 was published in the Official Gazette of India on 7th of January 2009 and was notified with effect from 31st of March 2009. As the name suggests, an LLP is a partnership firm in which some or all partners have limited liabilities. LLP registration has become quite easy and its compliances are also less as compared to the private limited company. LLP is becoming the most preferred form of business among several entrepreneurs. The reason why it is preferred over others is that it consists of benefits of both the partnership firm and company. Every company registered as an LLP is required to add LLP at the end of the company name. Benefits of obtaining limited liability partnership registration in India. It's quite evident from the name itself that LLP provides the benefit of limited liability to its members. Apart from this, there are several other benefits of limited liability partnership registration which are as follows. Limited liability. The term limited liability means that the liability of every member of an LLP is limited. In turn, this implies that if the company incur any losses, then the personal assets of the company's partners won't be confiscated. Further, they won't need to pay for those losses. Moreover, limited liability also indicates that the partner is utterly resistant to the outcomes arising as a result of any wrong decision of other partners. Separate legal entity. A limited liability partnership is a separate legal entity from its members. It means the introduction of a new partner or exit of an existing one won't dissolve its existence. Besides, the assets of the firms aren't owned by the partners. Easy transfer of ownership. In an LLP, it's pretty easy to transfer the ownership of the company to others, unlike the traditional partnership firm where addition of a new partner affects its existence. In an LLP, things are purely opposite. No minimum capital requirement. For starting an LLP, you don't need to keep up with any minimum capital requirement. You can start an LLP with 0 rupees in your pocket. No audit requirement. Again, there's no audit requirement in the case of an LLP. The need for audit arises in the two conditions. 1. When the annual turnover of the business surpasses the limit of Rs. 40 lakhs, or 2. In the case when the capital contribution goes above Rs. 25 lakhs. Taxation aspect. An LLP isn't accountable for paying the tax on the share of its partners or on the income. Therefore, as under Section 40B, no DDTI, dividend distribution tax is payable. Commission or remuneration, bonus, any payment of salary, interest to partners are allowed as deduction. However, under the income tax law, provision of dividend isn't applicable to limited liability partnership. What are the minimum requirements for registering an LLP firm? For every applicant who is willing to start an LLP should fulfill the minimum requirements of LLP registration as follows. A minimum of 2 designated partners. One of the partners must be an Indian resident. All the designated partners must have TPIN, Designated Partners Identification Number. every designated partner is required to hold DSC, Digital Signature Certificate. The applicant must have the address proof of the registered office, which can be either a residential or commercial place. Documents required for limited liability partnership registration in India. For obtaining LLP registration in India, you are required to present the following documents from all the designated partners: a copy of PAN card of all the designated partners, a copy of an Aadhaar card of all the partners, address proof such as latest mobile or telephone bill, bank statement, etc., identity proof of all the partners such as passport or driving license or voter's ID card at the time of incorporation, passport-sized photograph of every director and shareholder. In the case any of the partner is an NRI or foreign national, then he/she should present the apostilled or notarized passport. For the proposed registered office, residential or commercial, latest address proof of the registered office such as the electricity bill or water bill or landline bill or property tax receipt. In the case your office is on a rented premise, no objection certificate from the owner is mandatory. A copy of notarized rental agreement, in case the property is rented. Private limited company registration. Business is forever choose the right way. What is private limited company registration? Before you opt for any business entity, it's significant to identify which business form will be the best suit for you according to your need and resources you have. Experts say that private limited company registration is the best business entity for every startup. If we believe the stats, almost 93% of startups and entrepreneurs in India register their company as private limited. There are several reasons why startups are more inclined towards private limited company registration when compared to others. It offers multiple benefits such as ease of formation, limited liability, freely transfer of shares, easy to raise funds, etc. Hence, if you wish to register your company as private limited, then you need to register it under the Companies Act, 2013. Not only the private company but every company is registered under the Companies Act, 2013 and governed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA. Benefits of private limited company. Separate legal existence. Unlike the partnership firm or sole proprietorship, a private limited company is a separate legal entity from the members it constitutes. Limited liability. Owner is benefited if liability is limited and not unlimited. For instance, if the company suffers from any loss, then in such case the personal assets of the member of the company won't be affected. Hence, with private limited company registration, you can avail the advantage of limited liability. Perpetual existence. A company continues its existence even after the death of all directors, or wherein the shareholders opt out of the company. Business growth is supported. Such business form is preferred by most of the investors for the investment. A company can deal with venture capitalists, angel investors, or any financial institutions for fundraising. Therefore, businesses registered as private limited company can experience ideal growth. Reputation as a corporate entity. As compared to other forms of company registration, the private company enjoys a better reputation amongst its clients. Better credibility. Nowadays, investors, vendors, and customers look for better credibility in the business they are dealing with. Acquiring reputed clients or credit from dealers without credibility becomes extremely difficult. Transferability is easy. Ownership transferability in case of private company registration is easy, only a few steps for change in shareholding, directorship and nominee information is required. Right to own the property, asset ownership. A company is allowed to own the property on its name. A company can also own machinery, building, intangible assets, land, residential property, factory, etc. Members have no right over the property owned by the company. Financing. A private limited company enjoys better borrowing funds capacity. Documents required for private limited company registration. From directors and shareholders. Scan copy of PAN or passport. Passport size photograph. Copy of address proof. Notarized rental agreement if any rental property used for the same, etc. In the case the applicant is a foreign national, self-attested. Residential proof, apostille notarized. Passport, apostille notarized. Notarized identity proof of the directors. If the applicant is out of the native country, then attested copy of visa is required. In the case the foreign national is residing in India, then attested copy resident permit certificate is required. For the proposed registered address, residential/commercial. NOC from the owner if applicable. Copy of electricity bill, telephone bill, bank statement. Checklist for private limited company registration. The checklist for different company registration varies from each other. The checklist for private company is as follows. It must have a minimum of 2 directors. It requires a minimum of 2 shareholders. However, both director and shareholder can be the same person. One of the directors must be a resident of India. There is no minimum paid-up capital required for private limited company registration. Public limited company registration. What is public company registration? A public limited company enjoys a better avenue in terms of borrowing of the funds. A public limited company can be either a listed one or an unlisted one. A public company has to follow much more compliances as compared to a private limited company. It can deal in both secured and unsecured debts. A public limited company allows you to trade in the market and issue shares, debentures and accept deposits. A public limited company registration is always beneficial because a public limited company is preferred to provide big financial loans as compared to LLPs and firms. Incorporation of public company under Companies Act 2013 gives the ease of doing business, better transferability, more transparency and more accountability of the company towards shareholder. Documents required for public company registration. To incorporate a public company, one need to apply at the MCA, Ministry of the Corporate Affairs, portal along with the requisite documents. PAN card of the directors, copy. Photograph of the directors, passport sized. Aadhaar card or voter identity card. Rent agreement copy, in case of the rented property. For cell-phone property pairs are to be produced. Water bill or electricity bill. NOC, no objection certificate, from the owner. Eligibility criteria for public limited company in India. 1. Minimum shareholders, members. To incorporate a public company, it must have at least 7 members, shareholders. However, there is no upper limit for the maximum number of the shareholder. Now the very obvious question that may bog you is who can be the shareholder or member of a public limited company? Well, any natural, artificial person, OPC, LLP, or any other registered public company can become a member of the company. 2. Minimum directors. Minimum of 3 directors is must for public company registration. Keep in mind that at least one of the directors must be resident of India. Resident in India means a person who has lived in India for not less than 182 in the previous calendar year. The proposed director should have Director Identification Number, DIN, issued by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA. 3. Company name. It is mandatory for a public limited company to have suffix limited at the end of the name. Apart from this, the name must be unique and not identical or similar to the registered trademark. The activity must signify the business, and yes, it must end with limited at the end of the company name. The name of the company shall also signify the main, prerequisite objects. Well, the most primitive step for the names approval at the MCA portal by the Registrar of Companies. 4. Company objects. Objects of the company must be clearly defined and it must indicate the correct proposed business activities. Objects act as the directions and guides to the company. Company objects shall be legal. A company can have multifaceted objects. 5. Registered office address. The company has to provide a permanent business address proof and ownership proof at the time of applying of public company registration application filling. 6. Digital Signature Certificate, DSC. DSC is must for the purpose of online filing of the documents with Registrar of Companies. It verifies the authenticity of the document. 7. Professional certification and signatures. The forms to be uploaded on MCA portal for public company registration is mandatorily required to be certified by the professionals such as Chartered Accountant, Company Secretary, and Cost Accountant along with the declarations for incorporation of a public limited company. Our expert team of professionals comprising of CA/CS, lawyers at Swarat Advisors shall help you register public company at a very reasonable price. 8. Minimum paid-up capital. No minimum paid-up capital requirement is there at present. However, on practical grounds, Swarat Advisors recommend to have certain sum of money as paid-up capital, let's say rupees 1 lakhs. Indian subsidiary company registration. Complete solution for foreign enterprises starting their Indian operations through incorporation of an Indian private limited company. There is a lot of interest among foreign companies to start their operations in India and tap into one of the largest and fast-growing market, and have access to some of the best human resources in the world. Eligibility criteria for Indian subsidiary company. Director, Indian nationals. PAN card copy of the proposed directors of the company will be required for company registration. PAN or permanent account number is a unique identification number issued by the Department of Income Tax in India. It is mandatory for directors who are Indian nationals to submit PAN during the incorporation process. Address proof. In addition to the PAN card copy, the proposed director must submit an address proof. The address proof submitted must have the name of the director as mentioned in the PAN card and the most current address of the director. Further, the document must also not be older than 2 months. The following documents are acceptable address proof for Indian nationals. Passport, election card or voter identity card, ration card, driving license, electricity bill, telephone bill, Aadhaar card, residential proof. In addition to the address proof, a residential proof must be submitted during the incorporation of the company to validate the current address of the director. As applicable for address proof, the residential proof must also contain the name of the director as mentioned in the PAN card and must not be older than 2 months. The following documents are acceptable residential proof. Director, foreign nationals. The following documents are mandatory for foreign nationals for incorporation of company in India. Passport. In case of foreign nationals, passport is a mandatorily required as a proof of identity. The passport must also be notarized or apostilled in the country it was issued. In case the document is in foreign language, then it must be translated by an official translator to English and notarized or apostilled. Further, If the passport does not contain date of birth of the holder, then an additional document indicating the date of birth of the director must be provided, duly certified or attested or notarized or apostilled. Address proof. In addition to the notarized or apostilled passport copy, the proposed director must submit an address proof which is also notarized or apostilled. The address proof submitted must have the name of the director as mentioned in the passport and the most current address of the director. Further, the document must also not be older than 1 year for foreign nationals. The following documents are acceptable address proof for foreign nationals: driving license, residence card, bank statement, government-issued form of identity containing address. In case the document is in a foreign language, then it must be translated by an official translator and notarized or apostilled. Residential proof. In addition to the address proof, a residential proof must be submitted during the incorporation of the company to validate the current address of the director. As applicable for address proof, the residential proof must also contain the name of the director as mentioned in the passport and must not be older than 1 year. The following documents are acceptable residential proof: bank statement, electricity bill, telephone bill, mobile bill, registered office proof. In addition to providing identity, address and residential address for the directors, proof must be provided to validate the following documents must be submitted as proof of registered office during the company registration process or within 30 days of incorporation of the company: the registered document of the title of the premises of the registered office in the name of the company, or the notarized copy of lease, rent agreement in the name of the company along with a copy of rent paid receipt not older than 1 month. In addition to the above, the following must also be provided as proof of registered office: the authorization from the landlord, name mentioned in the electricity bill or gas bill or water bill or property tax receipt or sale deed, to use the premises by the company as its registered office. This is usually referred to as NOC from landlord, and proof of evidence of any utility service like telephone, gas, electricity, etc., depicting the address of the premises in the name of the owner or document, which is not older than 2 months. What is the concept of NE company? A NE company is a class of NBFC operates to encourage savings of its members. NE company registration process is an online process that does not require RBI approval. NE company collects fund by recurring deposit, road, and fixed deposit from its members, further lend to its members against gold, shares, road, FD, bonds and properties. NE company is required to register with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Main objectives of NE company: savings. NE company opens saving account of its member, similar to a bank, and promoting the habit of saving money among members. Loan. NE company only lends to its members. Ease of fund. NE is the safest and the cheapest way of raising funds from the general public, just by registering them as members. Microbanking provides rural banking services to the remote population of the nation which is still devoid of national banks and NBFCs. Documents required for NE company registration. NE company registration is completely online process. Following are the mandatory self-certified documents for the registration purpose. A. From directors and shareholders. 1. PAN card. 2. Election ID card or passport. 3. Photographs. 4. Latest bank statement or a copy electricity bill. 5. Photo. B. From registered office. Notarized rent agreement and electricity bills. Note: you can register NE company on your residence address as well can use the house or office address of relatives or friends. Minimum legal requirement for NI company. Every NI company is expected to meet the below compliance requirement as per NI Company Rule 2014. 1. Minimum 200 members, within 1 year. 2. Net owned fund of Rs. 10,00,000, within 1 year. 3. An unencumbered term deposit is not less than 10% of OS deposits. 4. Compulsorily filing of annual accounts, audit, and tax returns. 5. The ratio of net owned funds to the deposit must not be more than 120. 10 restricted business activities for any company. 1. Carry on or take up a business of chit fund. 2. Hire purchase finance, leasing finance, insurance or acquisition of securities by a body corporate. 3. Open any current account with its member, can open saving bank account. 4. Accept deposits from or lend money to any person other than its members. 5. Pledging of any assets in the form of security provided by its members. 6. Accept deposits from or lend money to any body corporate. 7. Enter into any kind of partnership arrangement in its borrowing or lending events. 8. Publish any advertisement for any form of deposit, etc. 9. All NI shall issue equity shares of the nominal value of not less than Rs. 10/each. 10. Each NI shall provide to all its deposit holders a minimum of 10 equity shares at least or shares equal to the value of in 100/. A producer company is a company which focuses on the activities such as harvesting, production, selling, marketing, etc., of the primary produce of its members for their benefit. Companies Act, 2013 has simplified the process of producer company registration to a great extent. Any entity who fulfills the criteria and objectives of farmer-producer company can apply for producer company registration. Under the Companies Act, 2013, a producer company is a company which focuses on the activities such as harvesting, production, selling, marketing, etc., of the primary produce of its members for their benefit. Companies Act, 2013 has simplified the process of producer company registration to a great extent. Any entity who fulfills the criteria and objectives of farmer-producer company can apply for producer company registration. Registrar of Companies, ROC, shall scrutinize the e-form submitted by the applicant properly. Then, within maximum 30 days of the receipt of the documents, it will issue a certificate of incorporation, COI. On registration, the producer company shall become a corporate body as if it is a private limited company. Eligibility criteria for producer company. What is the minimum and maximum number of directors required for producer company registration? Minimum number of directors, 5. Maximum number of directors, 15. Note, if the interstate cooperative society is incorporated as a producer company, then such company may have more than 15 directors from the date of its incorporation for a period of 1 year. What is minimum amount of share capital required for producer company registration? The share capital of the producer company share consists of equity shares only and minimum authorized capital of Rs. 5 lakh. What are the benefits of producer company registration? After producer company registration, the company has certain exclusive advantages. Some of them are as follows. It's a separate legal entity offering limited liability and perpetuity. Governed by central government, producer company offers high credibility than those provided by the unregistered producer organization. Change in management on board of the producer company can be easily carried out just by filing the prescribed form with ROC. A registered producer company is entitled to own, sell or alienate the property in its name, etc. Documents required for producer company registration. For obtaining farmer-producer company registration, one needs to submit the following documents: DSC and DIN of the directors, detailed information and documents related to the directors such as PAN, photo ID, proof address proof, etc. Drafted MOA and AOA of the producer company. Declaration and affidavit of the directors and members. Address proof of location of the producer company. NOC from property owner if any. Copy of rental agreement if applicable. And other documents as deemed necessary. What is Section 8 company registration? A non-profit organization can be registered as a trust or society and also as an NPO company under Section 8 of the Companies Act, 2013. Section 8 company has more benefits in comparison to trust and society. Section 8 company is registered for the charitable purpose or for not-for-profit business. This type of company has more credibility among donors, government departments, and other stakeholders. NGO registration is offline process except the Section 8 company registration. Documents required for Section 8 company registration. NGO registration. Documents for incorporate a Section 8 company. Identity proof of all the directors, copy of the PAN card, mandatory. Address proof, copy of Aadhaar/driving license/passport/telephone bill/electricity bill. Passport size photograph of all the directors. Rent agreement in case the registered office of the company is on rent. Utility bill of registered office. Form 2 which is consent to act as director. Director's interest in other entities. Section 8 company has to comply with the annual compliances like other companies. In case of non-compliance, the company will be treated as a dormant company and it can be struck off from the register. Section 8 company registration is useful for the following purposes: for promoting arts, commerce, science, education, research, social welfare, religion, charity, for environment protection or for any other purpose related to social welfare, provided that they apply their profits in promoting the object of the company. It also prohibits the dividend payment to its members. Its registration is governed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, whereas the trust and society registration is governed by the Registrar of State under the state government. For Section 8 company, it is not required to use words limited or private limited in their name. With effect from June 5, 2015, under the Act, there is no such requirement regarding the minimum capital. Timelines and expert services. Expert services. Timelines. Suggestions. Many advantages.